Hello everybody. Today we're going to be looking at diminished seventh intervals, which will be down here. But before we do, I'd like you to look at an interesting chord called a diminished seventh chord. And this is not to intimidate you, but just to give you an idea of what's coming up in music theory and in your study of music, whether it be rock music or pop music, classical music. This diminished seventh chord comes up all the time. And in various incarnations, usually in incarnations that are easy to understand. For instance, this, you see a lot of white keys and then one black key, etc. Something with double flats, it's not likely to come up much. So the little 0-7 is a shorthand for indicating a diminished seventh chord. And I'm not going to go into the details of this. This is coming later on. But I just want you to hear them. Here's an A diminished seventh chord. Suspenseful. A sharp. B. C. I'm playing them an octave higher than written. C sharp diminished seventh. D. D sharp. Whoop. E diminished seventh. F sharp. G sharp. And you can see that they're all just very suspenseful sounding chords. And the reason why I'm presenting them to you today is because in each one of these, the outer interval, for instance, this A to a G flat is a diminished seventh. It's different from the chord. I'm just talking about the outer two notes is a diminished seventh. Let's look at the A sharp. Same thing. This is a diminished seventh. This B to A flat. So these are all diminished sevenths. And that's what they have in common. The diminished seventh is one of the most powerful chords in a composer's toolkit. It allows the composer to go easily to other keys. Specifically, it can go to 4 different keys. For instance, this E diminished seventh can go to an F. It can go to an A flat chord. It can go to a B chord. And it can go to a D major chord. So a more detailed analysis or study of these chords will come up after we learn our triads, after we learn how triads function, and then after we learn chords, 4-part chords. In the meantime, let's take a look at how we get to a diminished seventh interval. We begin with a C to B, which is a major seventh because C to B is 1 to 7 of the C scale, of a major scale. So we flat the B. And then for a diminished seventh, we have to keep it 7. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's still some kind of B. Well, the minor seventh was a B flat, so we're going to double flat the B. And this B double flat on the keyboard looks like an A, just so you realize that. Okay, onward to C sharp. We know that in the C sharp major scale, everything is sharped. So 1 to 7 is C sharp to B sharp. This one's going to come out nicely. So the minor seventh, we naturalize the B, so it's just C sharp to B. And the diminished seventh, C sharp to B flat. And here's C sharp to B sharp, major seventh. Very dissonant. minor seventh, C sharp to B, make a seventh chord, and C sharp to B flat, diminished seventh. And if you look up here, here's in bass clef, C sharp, E, G, B flat. There's that diminished seventh, the C sharp to the B flat in this chord. Same C sharp to B flat on the outside. Okay, let's see what happens with D. I need a major seventh above D, so I can either count down 1 from an octave above, D to C, or count up 7. In any event, I come to a C. Well, what do I know is a major seventh above D? I know that D to C sharp is a major seventh because the C sharp is the 7th step of the D scale. A minor seventh, I'm going to lower the C sharp to a C natural, and a diminished seventh, going to lower the C to a C flat. And let's see if it's up here. Yeah, here it is, D, C flat on the outside. There's your diminished seventh. And let's listen to these. D to C sharp, very dissonant. That's a major seventh, minor seventh, and you'll hear that in seventh chords. And then the diminished seventh, D to C flat. And the C flat is really on the keyboard. I shouldn't say really. On the keyboard, it looks like a B. So the enharmonic equivalent of a diminished seventh, D to C flat, would be D to B, which is a major sixth. And let's go on to E flat. E flat to D is a major seventh because D is the 7th step of the E flat major scale. Minor seventh, we drop the D to a D flat. And then a diminished seventh becomes complicated because of the addition of a double flat. And that's really a pain to read if you're a pianist reading a new piece of music. So what I've decided to do here is to rewrite this chord, this interval, with its enharmonic equivalent, because it'll be easier to read. So an E flat, the enharmonic equivalent is a D sharp. And a D double flat, figure a D is a white key, we go down to the D flat, which is a black key, then we go down another half step to what looks like C. So the enharmonic equivalent of D double flat is C, and there we have the enharmonic equivalent of this interval. D sharp to C is the enharmonic equivalent of E flat to D double flat. So we'll also call that a diminished seventh. And what I'm going to do is put this in, it's kind of like math, I'll put this in parentheses, this one, and put this one in parentheses, and say, I'll put an E in the middle. I should have left a little more space to indicate that these are equal. They are equivalent. And if you look up here, D sharp to C, there it is, D sharp to C in our D sharp diminished seventh chord. Much easier to read than if this were an E flat, and then we'd have the double flat on top. So I put a little note up here that E equals enharmonic equivalent. All right, onward to E. We need a major seventh above E. We know D sharp is the 7th step. We're going in columns here. Here's the major seventh column. So E to D sharp is major seventh. We need our minor seventh, so we naturalize the D sharp. We bring it down to a D. That's our minor seventh. And then for diminished seventh, this is going to be very neat and easy to comprehend, a D flat. So that's pretty simple. And so we have an E to D sharp, very dissonant, E to D. Here's our what's called a seventh chord that's used with that interval. And then we have an E to a D flat. Well, what's a D flat? A D flat is also the enharmonic equivalent, a C sharp. So this diminished seventh, E to D flat, is equivalent to E to C sharp. And what's E to C sharp? It's a major sixth because C sharp is the sixth note of the E scale. All right, take a look at F. F to E is our major seventh. F to E flat, minor seventh, F to double flat, and we have another one of these, which is a little more difficult to comprehend when you look at it. So F to E, major seventh, F to E flat. The interval is called a minor seventh. Here's the seventh chord. This would be called a F seventh chord. It uses a minor seventh on the outside. And then we have the diminished seventh, F to E double flat, which looks like a D on the keyboard. And the diminished seventh would sound like this. And the chord. All right, we're going to move on to the next two, and I have to apologize that they're written out already because I didn't realize when I was recording that the video camera was actually off. So now it's on, and let's review. So F sharp to E sharp is a major seventh. We're in this column. Here's the minor seventh column. I want to bring that E sharp down to an E natural now. And then for a diminished seventh, I want to bring the E down to an E flat. Let's take a listen. F sharp to E sharp, major seventh, very dissonant. F sharp to E, a little less dissonant. There's a chord that goes with that. F sharp to E flat, our diminished seventh, the chord that goes with that, F sharp, E flat on the outside. And now we come to G flat, and we know in our G flat scale that F is the seventh note of its major scale, right? If we have G flat down here and G flat on top, which is the octave, then a half step below G flat is F. So G flat to F is our major, G flat to F flat is our minor seventh, and then G flat to F double flat is our diminished seventh. And since this is kind of hard to read, let's find its enharmonic equivalent. So we'll make a little equation here again, put brackets around both of them, and I claim that this interval over here is the EE, the enharmonic equivalent of this interval. So let's see. G flat is the enharmonic equivalent of F sharp, and vice versa. F sharp's the EE of G flat. And the enharmonic equivalent of F double flat is an E flat. So this is much easier to comprehend, and we see it up here, F sharp to E flat in the F sharp diminished seventh chord. And we'll move on now to G, major seventh above G. We're in bass clef now, is an F sharp. We know that because we know our scales really well, and we practiced them a lot and did the homework. And so a minor seventh, we're still using these columns, is an F. And a diminished seventh is an F flat. And let's see if I can reach this down here. Yes, I can. So G to F sharp, G to F, add a little chord, and G to F flat, add a little chord. Let's hear them an octave higher. G to F sharp, G to F, G to F flat. And we're still in bass clef, and this is the second A below middle C way up here. This top line is the A below middle C, and we're an octave below that now. And we know that A to G sharp's a major seventh because we know our scales really well. So we're in the major seventh column, come down to the minor seventh, we need an A to a G. And for a diminished seventh above A, we're going to lower the G to a G flat. So A to G flat is our diminished seventh. Let's see what these sound like. I'm going to bring them up an octave. A to G sharp, A to G with a chord, A to G flat, our diminished seventh. And we saw that right up here. A on the outside is the G flat. Okay? And our diminished seventh chord would sound like that. Take a look at B. B to A sharp is a major seventh because A sharp is the seventh note of the B scale. We lower the A sharp to an A natural. That's our minor seventh, still using the columns here. Now we're looking for a diminished seventh above B. We lower the A of the minor seventh to an A flat. And B to A flat, here's that interval up here, B to A flat in our B diminished seventh chord. Let's listen to these. I'm bringing it up. No, I'll keep it down here now. B to A sharp, B to A, and B to A flat. And does B to A flat, the diminished seventh, have an enharmonic equivalent interval by some other name? Well, yeah, because an A flat is also the equivalent of a G sharp. And we know from our knowledge of the B scale that B to G sharp is 1 to 6 of that scale. So the equivalent, the enharmonic equivalent of B to A flat, the diminished seventh, would be B to G sharp, which would be a major sixth. Well, we have two left. We're still in the bass clef. Here's A flat. We know a major seventh above A flat is G because we know our scales really well. Minor seventh would be a G flat. Diminished seventh, A flat to G double flat. I'll play these an octave higher. A flat to G, major, A flat to G flat, minor seventh, A flat to G double flat, diminished seventh. And we have these double flats, so I would like to make this more readable. So can we find the enharmonic equivalent of this interval? And the enharmonic equivalent of an A flat is a G sharp, and the enharmonic equivalent of a G double flat is an F. Remember, G is a white key. Go down a half step to a black key, G flat. Go down another half step to a white key that looks like an F. Okay, so here's A flat to G double flat sounds exactly the same as G sharp to F. And of course, this is all down an octave. So it's A flat to G double flat, G sharp to F. So these are enharmonic equivalents. E's. There we go. Much easier to read this G sharp to F, and there it is up here. See, here's the diminished seventh chord, G sharp to F on the outside. Much easier to read than if we had a slew of flats and double flats. And one more to go here. So we're B flat, 2 B flats below middle C. We want a major seventh. B flat to A is a major seventh. Minor seventh column, B flat to A flat. Diminished seventh, B flat to A. Whoop. This gets difficult now. B flat to A double flat. Yuck. And can we find an enharmonic equivalent? Well, let's bracket this off because we want the equivalent of this. And a B flat can also be presented as an A sharp. And an A double flat is the same as a G. Let's see if I can explain that to you. A is a white key. A flat is the black key below that. A double flat is the white key below that looks like a G. So this column over here, this last column, is also diminished sevenths. Okay? So I claim that the enharmonic equivalent of this diminished seventh, B flat to A double flat, is A sharp to G. See how they sound. Here's B flat to A double flat, and here's A sharp to G. Now, which would you prefer to read? Well, hands down this one. And I wrote the A sharp diminished seventh chord up here. So you see the bottom note, A sharp and G. Much easier to read than if you have flats and double flats. In case you're looking at this page now and wondering why I omitted this operation here, well, I actually didn't. I made the video and then realized that I had already done it up here an octave higher. So you're free to copy this out. It won't do you any harm, but that's the reason. So that'll be it for today. Thanks for watching, and please hit subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and we'll see you next time.